Welcome to How Now, the podcast where we talk about how to live in the now. And here's your host, Kim Martin Raymond.
Peace and blessings, love and light, and welcome to this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond. I'm a minister, spiritual life coach, author, and founder of Redefining You, LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves, mind, body, and spirit. So welcome to the show. If this is your first time listening to the How Now podcast, welcome. Welcome to the How Now podcast family. Be sure to go to www.hownowpodcast.com and make sure that you click on your favorite podcast platform. So that way you know when the show is airing, which is every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also click on the banner and it will take you to the How Now YouTube channel, where you can like, subscribe, share, and catch up on some old episodes that you may have missed. Again, that's www.hownowpodcast.com. So tonight, let's dive into our show, where we're going to be talking about crisis prevention and de-escalation the gentle way. Okay, I have some wonderful guests here who are going to assist me in talking about de-escalation and talking about crisis prevention, because that is something that we're seeing not only in the workplace, but we're also seeing that in our education system, with our staff, and with our students. And so there are many instances where we are having to have a plan of de-escalation, to have a plan for crisis prevention, because there are crises that are coming up around us each and every day from all different areas of our lives. And like I said, to talk with me about this are my guests. So as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have my guests to introduce themselves at this time.
Great. Hey, Kim, glad to be with you this evening, and glad to be on the How Now podcast, and just excited to share some of the great things that Mr. Griggs and I are doing, and a little bit about our history together, which will probably have some comedic moments, as we walk through this. But Ron Mosley, and I am the Director of Growth and Customer Experience with the GentleWay Institute. And my background, humble background, we are headquartered in Akron, Ohio, which is the place where Bert and I grew up. And I have to say that just to give you a snapshot of my background, came from the projects to high school. And it was really academics and sports that kind of led the way for me to attend an Ivy League university. Went to Brown University, engineering degree with emphasis in computer architecture. So Bert likes to say, "Hey, he's the tech dude. He's the tech guy. He does all this software stuff. So, but Bert's learned it fast. Let me tell you. Right. So I have out in that, worked a number of years in companies, corporations, doing engineering tech stuff. And then after I found that, my earnings had plateaued, had some friends in sales and marketing. So I really spent the last, 15, 20 years in sales and marketing, and just have enjoyed, working with people, working with clients. And it has taken me into healthcare, into manufacturing, and into consulting, and just all sorts of areas of business, and also led me into entrepreneurial ventures as well. Worked for a couple of startups, and Bert and I, our first venture, we actually had a retail store that we worked in, and maybe we'll touch on that, maybe we won't. But as a lot of entrepreneurial startup ventures go, right? You may start in one area, kind of figure out that there's a need in the marketplace for something else, like in this area, de-escalation. And so we saw the opportunity, or I should say, Bert was the visionary that saw the opportunity. He said, "Come on, man, you gotta help me do this thing." And so we found some customers and clients that are working with us, making this thing happen. And so that's a little bit of a snapshot on my background, and I'll let Bert take it from there.
Awesome.
All righty. Well, hey, I'm Bert Griggs. That's pretty much I. My background is I trained for the Olympics, and I went to Colorado Springs back when I was 22 years old, and I lived there for about, I don't know, 8 years in Colorado Springs, and I moved to Denver. And the person that helped me, get to that level was Ron. I keep wanting to call him Randy. We talked about it when I was 11 years old, and I said I wanted to make the Olympic team. So he was very encouraging back then. He was a nice person to me back then. Uh-huh. And then, I met Coach John Saylor, who he was a competitor back then, and he kind of like took me under his wing and showed me a lot of things. And I had a couple of training partners, Roger Miller and Rick Oliva. Those guys were like just, it was just great, right? So I learned from these people, and judo means gentle way, even though we it doesn't look as gentle as it is, but it is very gentle, because the reason why I mention those guys is because we developed like another brotherhood.
Yeah.
And that just meant so much. I was, very needed that. That's something I needed in my life, and they gave it to me. So then after being at the training center, and that's where I met my other good friend that Rampy has met too. He calls him Rampy also, because everybody calls him Rampy because I say it
because the bird.
Right.
Everybody calls me Rampy because of the bird. Family. So down campus family. See.
So yeah, we all know you as Rampy. Yeah. Done deal.
So I got under the tutelage of Leo White, who's a two-time Olympian. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess me and Leo's goal was to get Rampy married, and so Rampy.
Oh, here we go.
Rampy meets his wife through
Swan song.
And next thing you know, the night he met her, he said that he was going to marry, pretty much married the night he met her.
No, they told me. They told me I was going to marry. That's what.
That's true. We did. We told him that she was a gem in the ocean. Benita Fitzgerald was her name. She was the first Black female to win the hurdles in the Olympics. And at that time, she was only the second female period to win the hurdles.
Wow.
For like, what was it, 1936 was before 1984, yeah. Uh-huh. So anyway, they met and everything, and my story is mostly about him. I mean, that part. Let me get into my knowledge.
This edition of the Love Connection, right?
Yeah.
De-escalation.
De-escalation, love connection. Well, that's probably how I developed my de-escalation skills. Right. I ended up getting hired by the city of Denver. Uh-huh. I was the youngest senior human service counselor that they had. I was a lead counselor, the youngest. I was 32 years old, and I was able to, with the judo background and friends and brothers like I had, and sisters, I was able to work my way in there, and that's how I discovered I got this de-escalation thing pretty down. Like, because we dealt with clients off the street, and it didn't matter how much they were making, because everybody, if they upset, they upset.
Right.
Some people were homeless, and some people were bank presidents.
Wow.
Right. And in Denver, you're allowed to drink all you want, but you can't be on the streets intoxicated. Gotcha. So it's a very clean place and everything. So anyway, they learned that I knew judo, and they also learned that I had a set about me that I was able to de-escalate people without touching. And that's how I developed the skills over the 25 years I was there. And I ended up teaching the skills in the year 2000.
Okay.
They asked me to just go ahead, write some stuff up and teach it. And I got with a good friend of mine, Joe Contreras, and he was another young worker. and he was, helped me develop some of the program, and that's just how it went. And then, believe it or not, like I was still competing back then, and my next coach was Sheldon Marr, who was over the sheriff's department.
Okay.
As far as teaching their skills and stuff. So we kind of like intertwined some of our stuff, and we were able to get some of that going. Well, lo and behold, Ron tells me, hey, he getting ready to move back east. And, I got to follow him, right? So I decided I'm gonna retire, move back east, and we ended up opening up a franchise computer store. And it was good, but it just wasn't, I think, our kind of thing.
Right.
And for me, computers is, I'm more people oriented kind of guy,
Right.
And so we got out of that. And then 2019, I kind of like, that's the year I can say I was like retired, didn't do anything, was, traveling here and there. And we went to the Olympic Hall of Fame gala together. I went back out to Colorado Springs with him. Now I say, hey man, I got this idea, all this stuff going on in the world and stuff. We should start teaching de-escalation. And he looked at me like he always do, and he said, I swear to God, he goes, And I get upset about it. Like, what? I said, yeah, I got this idea, man. He goes, but see, the thing is, that means he's thinking it through.
Right.
And he's going to bring it to fruition.
Okay.
Right. And it's kind of like, be careful what you ask for. So before the main part of the pandemic, he's got this going. He said, we can do this. And he's writing up this. And he goes, why don't we do? I'll sit up there. I just wanted to relax and everything. And then once the pandemic hit, he's still calling me and he's saying, let's write this down. What's your idea about this? So anyway, we came up with what we came up with. We developed the program, and we were able to implement that program. What was it, last year? Last year we did with Dads on Duty. And that was because of Russell Neal, who's a councilman here in Akron. And quite naturally, we grew up with him too.
Okay.
So Russell Neal, he got us into that part. And then we had a lot of encouragement from the Urban League with Teresa Laguerre, because the Urban League really, opened some doors for us and helped us out. And there was the Urban League in Atlanta, where you're at. Kim Lee Irvin, she was very helpful with the store when we had, and she's also very helpful now and stuff. That's why I can't wait to talk to her again. Because I mean, one thing about judo and stuff, you learn to develop all these friendships and everything, and that's that's pretty much what we've done, and my skill set and everything. That's what leads me into doing what I do, and with his guidance, because he's a brain guy. I'm kind of like Captain Kirk, and he's like Spock, like that kind of thing.
All right, okay, we'll take that. We're not gonna do the whole Batman Robin thing. We definitely do the Captain Kirk and the what's his name again? Not I was gonna say Sulu. Yes, okay, we got that. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit, because like I said, you were talking about starting the program, having the idea of doing the de-escalation because of the things that you were seeing going on around the country. And so, like I said, you mentioned Urban League, and you mentioned some of the other programs that were going on locally that you presented this to. So, and when you initially had the thought to start talking about the de-escalation and having those type of programs, who was your target audience? I know you did the dads. You were talking about the program with the dads. Was that something that was your target audience, or did you have a target audience at the time?
Originally, I told Ron, I told him about Cascade Ministries, the church that I belong to and stuff, and Reverend Jackson. and they were a very integral part in what I wanted to do. Because at first, in 2019, there were a lot of violent things that happened in churches. Somebody got shot,
Right.
somebody got killed in a church, and somebody got cut up. So Rampy, or Ron again, he said, let's come out with something, and he wrote it up, and we were able to do it.
Right. All right, Rampy, go ahead and tell us about that.
I was just going to say part of it was, the opportunity, of course, with Bert's, the intersection of Bert's experience,
right.
Those two areas, plus, his vision for it. But we've done a lot of homework looking at, who's in this industry,
right.
who's done well in this industry, what sort of techniques and methods have worked,
right?
And as we start talking to people, we talk about targets. We looked at just about any industry that interacts with people.
Yeah.
Right. We have talked to airline people. Right. Because at the time, like right before COVID, there's all this stuff going on with the airlines. And then with COVID, right, there was all the things with masks, and some people wanted to wear them, some people didn't want to wear them. So that caused all kinds of conflict in and of itself. Right. So there was stuff like that going on in the airline industry. And of course, schools have had their share of having to do with crisis prevention and escalation, de-escalation, just the nature of, the education industry. So that was definitely an area that there was a need. Right. And then, Bert knew some people who were police officers. I knew a couple people who were police officers, and of course with, all the things that were going on around, BLM and defund the police and all the stress and tension. Of course, it still exists with that, but, cities and organizations and police departments were looking at how can they do something different, than what's been done in the past, the way officers are trained. And there's a huge movement in that area to look at, peace officers, and with police officers being law enforcement officers being in the customer service business, right? So there's that aspect going on. So almost any industry that interacts with people, there's an opportunity for training. And part of what we looked at, and some of the feedback that we got as we were doing our research, people were telling us all the time, the training is so boring. The staff is not engaged with the content, right? It's the same content that they looked at 2 years ago. 3 years ago, right? So they need a fresh look, right? And, Bert comes from an athlete background. I come from an athlete background and a musician background, right? And Bert likes to say, if you were learning to ride a bike, would you practice once a year? Right? So no, you wouldn't learn to ride a bicycle, by riding it once a year. And just like, playing a flute, if you wanted to learn to play the flute, if you wanted to learn to play the piano, would you go to your piano teacher and get a check the box certificate once every 2 years? No. Right? So if you want to develop those skills, it's something you gotta at least tune into a couple times a week, a couple times a month to start to develop that skill. So one of the things we looked at is training frequency. And we looked at the research out there on learning and skill development related to, skill retention and building confidence, in different techniques. And so that's one of the things that we do, at least when we train in de-escalation. We want to dial in a higher frequency of training.
Absolutely. I think that's great that you talk about that, because I have an education background, and I worked in special education. And so I did, I would take my, I think it was, I'm trying to remember if it was, I don't think it was annually. I think it was every 2 years, almost like your CPR and first aid. You just took your, you took your, crisis prevention intervention, certification. You took it once a year. And like you said, you just checked the box, like, okay, that's done. I don't have to get that done until, another 2 years. All right, see you guys. They would teach us a couple of techniques. But just like you said, just like with your CPR and first aid, you forget after time until something happens. And are you still going to be fresh with those things that you're thinking about? So, it's interesting that you do mention that, because yeah, you do the training and you're just like, yeah, okay, I've ticked this off. This is something that I've done. Okay, yeah, I learned a few techniques. If you were in education like I was for years and years, you go back and it's the same thing as you learn, and maybe one or two things that you learn differently. But you spoke about, having a fresh approach. And I'm assuming that, especially with COVID hitting, and then people, having a demand for this type of training, even going into the pandemic with the situations that were going on, the person mentioned to you about, doing something fresh. So what was something fresh and new that you were bringing to that quote unquote boring training that people are used to?
That was me.
And there you have
it. Because one thing I learned, and especially when I was getting trained by my judo coach and getting trained by Leo White and all that kind of stuff, coaching me and stuff, you got to have fun when you get trained.
Yeah.
And you learn from falling down to get back up. We always say you fall down 7 times, get up 8.
Right.
Those kind of things. And we try to, what I did with Ron, because, we try to incorporate some of the fun stuff in there.
Right.
And I think, and less pressure that you have to learn this or you're gone, kind of,
right.
And everything. And also we were able to get people, we just did a class with Metro Parks here. And, what was it? Demetrius Faulkner. I said this one thing about, like I said, I looked at the Olympic Training Center, right? And I go and I stayed there, and it was I stayed there with Mike Tyson was there when I was there.
Okay.
And believe it or not, Demetrius, she goes, Mr. Griggs, I don't think they know who you're talking about. At that, I looked at them and they go like, no, we don't know. How about Evander Holyfield? No, we don't know who that is either. And I'm like, okay, and so those kind of things,
right.
when you bring them to a classroom, and I always tell the story about Ron, and I got a bunch of stories I tell, so not the same one. And we do things like that, and we incorporate the learning process.
Yes.
In there. And what we found out because we found out that people were looking forward to being in our class.
Nice.
And everything. People were, I'm so glad you came back. Because, we don't, like Ron said, we don't do here you go, we're done and we're gone for the rest of we'll call us when you need us. We don't do that. We're going to be there before you need us.
Beautiful.
See, we want to be there before you need us, so you don't need us.
Right.
And we're going to make it where you're going to know exactly what you need to do in whatever industry you're in.
Right.
How to cope with that situation and get through it. And whether you're a flight attendant, whether you're a naturalist at a park, whether you're working at McDonald's. Everybody can use what we do because we have made it relevant. We make it where like this really happens.
Right.
Because most of the time, and I got that from my experience working in detox for years. I became a counselor. Well, a lot of times things happen and you just go like, I can't believe that's happening.
Right.
Well, I learned how to manage that. And I would, call Ron. I call Rampy and I go, man, this happened. And he would make suggestions about how I could handle a particular situation.
Right.
And I go, okay, I'll try that. And a lot of times it'd be like, a person's yelling at me, swearing at me. I still go, how may I help you? And Ron would say, that's what you just need to do. They would look at you and go like, oh, I'm not ruffling his feathers. And because I'm a big guy, a lot of times people want to attack me.
Right.
And everything. and Ron told, he talked to me about that. He go, a lot, they just want to attack you because they want to make themselves seem bigger and everything. And then I learned not to do that. Those kind of things where like and I were able not to put my hands on people just by certain things that him and I have talked about. Everybody's not having a great day. Everybody's not, being able to go home and have a Sprite, everybody ain't able to do that, and everybody's not able to get in a car and go someplace. Well, sometimes those people are upset, and sometimes the people who do they get in a limousine wherever they're going, they're upset too. Everybody's not having a great day. So, and a lot of times if you realize that and you approach people to try and make their day better, and that's what Ron has always told me, approach people, try to make their day better, bring some good to them with just saying hi in a good way. How you doing? Things like that. It's little things, but we've compiled those things and made them into a rhythm of what you can do. And on the physical side, what we've done is make you aware of, like, if you write up on somebody, you probably don't want to be there. You don't want to be right up on somebody because, first of all, they feel threatened. So we develop a stance to make it less threatening, right? And to make the person feel better. And also we've developed different programs for different programs where, like, some people, if you're a policeman, we do the judo, jujitsu, and we've taken the non-lethal, non-harmful techniques and you implement those. And if you're a flight attendant or you're working at McDonald's or you're just walking down the street, we also implemented things where if somebody grabbed you, how just to get away. We ain't train you to be no MMA fighter. We train you to get away from those kind of positions where, whereas a law enforcement, they need to be able to handle somebody where they don't hurt the person, but still control it. So with the team of people we have, we can do that. Because even though I was scared of Ron back in the day, I ain't scared of him no more. I started taking judo when I was 11.
Okay.
I'm 62.
Right. I love that. I love that you say the GentleWay, and I love that the name of your organization is the GentleWay Institute, because you're teaching people to do things in a non-threatening way. One question that came to mind when you were talking about de-escalation and talking about people being in other people's spaces, I think about when we were confined to our homes and having to be in close proximity with our loved ones, and even having to de-escalate in those situations. Now, have y'all had situations where you've had to deal with not just organizations, but with individuals as well? Have you had people who have come to you as individuals and have asked for advice on de-escalation?
Oh yeah,
we have it mainly gets focused towards the businesses, but in our training classes, of course, we talk to people about how this can be applied in your personal life, right? Because anyone with a spouse or partner, or with kids, especially if they're 3 years old or 16, right? There's a lot of similarities between 2 and 3 year olds and 16 year olds, right? Then you have to learn how to listen, how to be direct, right? How to use tone and how to use all those things, in your form of communication. But as Bert was talking, I was thinking about, you when we talked before in preparation for this call, and looking at how now and post COVID, one of the things I think that we noticed that we and our team didn't know going into doing more of these trainings is that a lot of people in these organizations have a need to be heard.
Yes.
And so in a lot of cases, we go into the training and we become facilitators of conversation,
Yes.
of people between people, right? Because in companies that are working at the same task, some of the similar tasks and similar industry, they, these staff members, they come across similar circumstances.
Right.
And so they get a chance to, well, so how did you handle it? Kim, well, how did you handle it, Bert? And then we get a chance to facilitate, and say, well, how would you handle this situation, Joan? Right. And then we were able to facilitate that conversation. And a lot of the staff members have anxiety or tension or things that are going on too. And that training venue gives them a format to be able to talk those things out. And of course, get some learning and techniques of how to handle it going forward. But that's something that we discovered in our training that we just did not know that that would be an aspect of what we're doing that people really need, especially post-COVID, like you said, after being cooped up and all this sort of stuff, and then people are tense anyway, just having a place where they can start to share, kind of some of the things that are happening just in life.
Just like you're saying, I mean, that makes it fresh and it makes it relevant, especially when they are part of the conversation, because so many trainings you go to, the person is standing up there and they're just like, blah, 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 blah. And they've got the little PowerPoint up and they're just going through things, but not making it relevant to the actual situation. I love that you all do that you make it relevant to the audience that you're addressing. And that's something that's so critical, even when you're talking about de-escalation, because you're bringing it to their relevancy. You're giving them an opportunity to talk about what's happening there and situations that they can say, okay, yes, this is something that would actually happen in our facility, and this would be a way that we would handle it, or this would be some good tips on how to handle it. So I love that you make it relevant, and that it's not just cookie cutter for everyone, because the situations that happen aren't cookie cutter, right?
Right.
Yep, that's right.
And that's what you mentioned. That is our big asset, is we're able to listen to people, take their input, and transform it into a workable program that they're going to be comfortable with. Because who's not comfortable with something I already know I believe in?
Right.
I just may not know how to do it, but I believe in it. I believe it works, but once you show me, I came up with this idea of how it works. It's kind of like, Rampy with this de-escalation program. I gave him the idea, and then he was able to show me how it worked. Because him and our other friend, Reverend Michael Murphy, they are they the quiet guys that you don't want to bother, right? But for sure.
Quiet storm, yes.
Oh yeah, and I happen to be in study hall with both of them.
Right.
We at the same study hall table, and we still friends to this day.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Bert just got through talking to you.
I was just saying yes. I was saying yeah.
Yeah,
Mike was the other guy at our study hall table, after Bert and I met in middle school.
Yeah, and he's a reverend of Prevail Church here in Akron and stuff, and it's just like, I know him before he was a reverend, right?
Right.
Still like Ron, I know him. They was quiet, but they didn't take no stuff off of nobody back when they was young. That's for sure. But things like that, and the sense of community that we try to have no matter where we go. We want to, if we come to Atlanta, we're going to build a sense of community with the staff.
Yeah.
And the customer service, the hospitality, all that. We're going to do all that. We're going to, if we go to California, we're going to build that there with that particular staff. Because the thing is, with our experience, we've been able to realize that you need to do that. And the other thing is, we've also have some young people on board, because he kind of old, you know what I'm saying? and so we borrowed our good friend Ronnie Brinson. We borrowed his daughter Brittany, and Brittany Brinson. She's what, in her 30s maybe, or 20s
Okay.
or something. I'll say 20 because I don't want to say she older than
I'm not saying a thing.
I shouldn't have said that.
No,
Hey,
no.
cross that off. Cross that off. But anyway,
You said a whole government name. It's
she's
all
a
right.
young person that's helping us out.
Yes.
well, the thing is, that sets us apart from other
Yes.
organizations where we allow input. We don't just have a book that you're going to go through and follow A, B, C, D, E. Because some stuff goes from A to F all the way.
Right.
And you got to be able to deal with that.
Right.
You know, right when you get to that F and the G and all that, you got to be able to deal with that. But a lot of things are ABC, you know, boom, boom, boom. Because
right.
I took some of those classes.
Now, do you all provide certifications though for those who you train, or just the training for the information?
Go ahead, Ron. You can answer that.
Yeah, right now we provide the training for the information, but we're in the process of getting and doing the certifications and providing certifications back to the students. So all of that is a work in progress for us right now, because we recognize that there's some locations, some businesses that want that. So we're working on doing that too.
Right. But that's awesome though, because it's like you said, there's a need, and it's important to meet the need. And in order to even come up with a comprehensive program, even for certification, you know, you'll lose some of that personal touch, you know, and having it certified, as opposed to providing the information that's going to help to de-escalate, and that's going to help with crisis prevention and intervention. Those things are critical, you know, and I like that you make yourselves available to them. And you say that it doesn't just end when the class ends, that you continue to keep in contact with them. Do you have a certain way in which you do that? I know you said, you know, you don't wait for them to call you, you kind of reach out to them ahead of time. So do you have kind of a time frame where you check back in with them periodically to see how things are going?
We do. We check back in with them, and Ron sets up the next classes that we throw. We throw in some classes that we're not, you know, we just throw in some extra classes.
Gotcha.
Based on, because a lot of times people have problems getting people off the floor or bringing people in. So, or even the virtual part, they just to take somebody off the floor, like a nurse, and take them off the floor to go sit and watch something. A lot of places, you know, they have a problem doing that.
Right.
So Ron schedules all that, and in our packages, we throw that in there.
Nice.
You know, we one of our big goals is just to, from what we talked about, me and him, it's just to see how things have changed so much that people are angry. Yeah. Angry about stuff that you probably shouldn't be angry about. You know, and how great things really are, but they're still angry. And we thought about that, we talked about it, and I, through my experiences at my job and his job and things like that, we just figured out what we're going to do is we're going to design programs for different companies, different everything. And once we teach our base program, then we're going to teach some follow-up programs. Beautiful. All right. So you're gonna get a whole bunch of us. We're here all week.
I like it. I like it.
We're here all week. We're here all. We want to be that kind of thing that people go, you're looking forward. I can't wait to go to GentleWay and take some training. I that's what we want to be.
To be the go-to. And I think that's important. One thing that I definitely want to touch on, because I know that time travels, and what's good is that we'll always have you come back. But what I want to talk about is just, you talk about your base program. What are just some things that people can, that our listeners can kind of tune into when they're talking about de-escalation? What is something that you find yourselves repeatedly, expressing to the different groups that you're going to, with regards to de-escalation and with regards to crisis intervention and prevention?
You want me to take it?
Yeah, I'll mention a couple things. I'll let Bert mention a couple things. We talk a lot about tone.
Yes.
Right. Because that's important. And again, if you're used to dealing with kids in the education setting or even customer service where, somebody comes into the bank and, I've been waiting in this line this long. And well, how can I help you? Right. And what sort of reaction that would cause somebody to have, or, like Bert said earlier, Kim, how can I help you today? Right. So just changing that tone, right, and recognizing that other people have stuff going on too, right? So that's the one of the things that we really focus on, and we drill and we practice those kinds of things. And Bert, go ahead. I'll let you.
Well, that's the one I was going to talk about, but
Well, you got to pick another one. Sorry. No, that one.
Well, like you said, tone is everything, because think about when you were a kid. When you were a kid and you hit somebody upside the head and your mom said to say sorry. Did you say, I am so sorry? Or did you say sorry? It's all in the tone. You ain't mean it, and you hit them again. If they let you hit them another time. But yes, tone is everything.
Or if my dad said Ronald Allen, then I knew that, something else was about to happen.
Well, just like I told you when you called me Bertram,
right?
I was like, oh, okay, whatever you want me to do. I was kind of like, trained. If you say Bertram, right. I'd stand up, like that. One of the other ones that goes along with tone is cadence.
Yes.
Sometimes we will say something, and how we say it. You say it real fast, people can get upset, and you say it real slow, then they still get upset, because It's like, oh, you must think I don't understand,
right?
Can you do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Those kind of things. It's right. Being aware of your audience and stuff. Yeah. That's one of the things we want to teach, and I believe we're great at it. What we want to do is cadence and tone, and also being up on somebody, how to stand. A lot of people believe if you stand like, well, I'm old, so Matt Dillon in Gunsmoke, the very beginning, that you're standing tall and you're balanced with your feet parallel, but you're not balanced. You're off balance. Okay, and we go through that and teach you how to be balanced while you're talking to somebody. Right. How sometimes not to do this, how to just keep your hands to the side. Because if I'm doing this, it kind of looks like, I'm doing this, right? So I don't want to be pointing my finger at you. You need to do this, and if you do this, or, those kind of things. It's little things that we've been able to, over the years, catch up with, and that we find that actually work. Yes. And a lot of people are surprised by it. And then a lot of people go like, oh yeah, I always thought that, but we just never were taught that. Right. They were never taught it. They knew it worked, but they weren't taught it in some of the things that they've been taking. That's missed. And what we do is we bring all that to the table. Just like, at the church, Cascade Ministry, I teach that to the young kids that we have. I do a class right after church, and I'll teach all those things that I'm talking to you about, and they end up saying like, yeah, I didn't know that, or they'll go like, yeah, that I can do that. We teach you stuff that you can do. Yes. That's the other thing. Yes. We're going to give you what you want, and we're going to give you what you need. Yes. Right? Yes. And, needs are always more than wants, right? Right. But you want more. Right. Well, I think between Ron and I, and we're able to do that, and definitely with the team of people we have, I just know that we can get stuff done for people, and awesome. The things that we want to bring to the table, like cadence, tone, those little things, people just don't understand. Because like I can say, like Ron just did, how can I help you? And they look at me and go like, well, gosh, that's, or say, how can I help you? Right. we want to say, how can I help you? What do you need? Okay, you keep cussing at me. Could you hold on now? Stop cussing so much. Well, that's kind of giving them an order and telling them to stop doing something. Well, if you talk through it and go like, hold on, let's talk. How can I help you? And those are certain tips that I'm giving away right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes.
And I hope that folks are writing those down, because those are three really good tips. Because just like you say, we always hear people talking about tone. Watch your tone. Be careful with your tone. But I like that you said cadence. That's not something that a lot of people think about. Cadence and yes, if you do say it slow, it does make the person feel as though they're ignorant or they don't understand the words coming out of your mouth. That really does make a difference. If you're saying it so fast, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, I didn't catch that. You're going too fast, And so, cadence is, and then stance. We always talk about body language, and just like you were saying, with your hands and pointing at people and things like that. But that's right, having a stance that's not an aggressive stance. We always talk about that in childcare, where we say get down on the child's level, so that way you're not towering over them, or you're looking down on them, or you're giving them commands, but you're at their level and you're talking to them. So we hear a lot about that, but you don't hear a lot about stance. So those are really three wonderful tips that you give regarding.
And the stance part also is how you're going to get away. The way we teach you to stand is how you get away. And one of the big things that Ron always brought to my attention, and I never thought about it because, I've been doing what I've been doing for years. He said, Griggs, because, he called me Griggs, but, he say, we can give people confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence, goes a long way in toning down these situations that could go to the next level.
Yes.
And if we can give people confidence, then, it's kind of like that honey badger. A lot of people don't know. Honey badger is like this badger that just take on everything, right? Because he got confidence.
Yes.
And honey bat, and so, he takes on a bear, he takes on a giant lizard, he take anything because he has confidence. And that's what we try to give people confidence, and that's what we work on. And you may not get it the first class, but the follow-ups and everything, we're gonna make sure you're gonna leave with some confidence with us.
Beautiful. And I think that that's important because most of the time we're acting out of fear. And so if we're not operating from a place of fear, and we're operating from a place of confidence, we're going to react or respond more responsibly or better because of the fact that we have confidence in what it is that we're doing. When we're scared, what do scared people do? You start just flailing because you don't know what else to do. So your fear takes over. So I love that you say that too, that it comes from a place of confidence, that it comes from a place of knowledge and knowing. And that's where confidence comes from. When we know a little better about our situation and about things that are happening around us, we can respond in a more responsible way. So I love that you say that.
Right, because if you know better, you can do better.
Yes, absolutely. Ron, were you about to say something? I didn't want to.
No. You're good. And part of it is learning these skills, because when fear is happening, right, and emotions are higher, right, common sense goes out the window. Bert likes to say, common sense is not common.
That's right.
So if you begin to make these skills more conscious and become more competent at it, right, then that builds the confidence. That's all I was going to say.
Yes. Well, I know our time is slipping away, but the one thing that I do want to do is I want to give you guys an opportunity to tell people how they can get in contact with you about your institute, and how they can connect with you all regarding your programs. And then just give us a little bit. I know that you have 3 programs that you're working with predominantly. Tell us what those programs are, and then tell us how we can get in contact with you.
Go ahead, Ron.
Oh, okay. Well, the 3 classes, basic courses that we offer. One is a verbal de-escalation, verbal communication course. that we have that focuses on what we call 99% of the interactions, which should be verbal. And then, of course, we also offer the safe judo jiu-jitsu techniques when it comes to the physical side of de-escalation. And that is what we say should be 1% of what happens with you those times when you need to get away. And then the third course that we are actually rolling out is something, and maybe we could talk about that on another podcast.
Absolutely.
Is what we call something centered around social styles. So it's really valuing diversity in social styles. And, there's a lot of research that's been done with 4 basic social styles, and really learning how to get along is a huge part of that. And so those are our 3 basic training classes that we have, and I'll let Bert talk about how you get hold of us.
Yes. How can you get hold of Bert?
I thought you were gonna do it all. Well,
we give you our emails. I mean, my email to reach out to me directly is ron.mosley. Mosley is Mosley at GentleWayInstitute.com. So ron.mosley@GentleWayInstitute.com, just like it sounds. And I'll let Bert give you his email as well.
Okay.
Okay, I can do that. My email is Bert, BERT, .Griggs, GRIGGS, at GentleWayInstitute.com.
Okay.
And the phone number to call is 330 333 9981.
9981. And the website?
Go ahead, Ron.
www.GentleWayInstitute.com, just like it sounds. www.GentleWayInstitute.com.
Okay. So we have ron.mosley@GentleWayInstitute.com and bert.griggs@GentleWayInstitute.com. The website is www.GentleWayInstitute.com. And the phone number is 330-333-9981. And that will definitely be in the description when the show airs. So you'll be able to get in contact with Ron and Bert regarding their programs. Yes. But what I also want to do before we close things out is as I always ask all of my guests at the end of the show, what is something that they're doing to live in the now? How are you navigating in this space that we're in? I'm not going to call it a new normal because it's not. Mm-hmm. This is the environment that we're in right now. And so we just want to know, what are you doing to operate in it? How are you living in this now? We'll start with Ron.
Sure. Thank you, Kim. For me, it's important to have some sort of spiritual life. Yeah. And, I that with golf. I love to walk golf. I get some physical exercise in there, but I love being out in nature. Yeah. So I also go for walks, in the park. I call it my nature walks, where I can go out and just listen to see what God has to say to me for that day or that week. And then, of course, with my spouse, Benita, we also will go out on some of those walks together just to get a chance to just renew our connection as well. So I think it's important that people just take the time for a spiritual connection to find, peace. Because when I really look at what GentleWay and what we're doing in our mission, like Bert said earlier, we saw what was happening in the communities, and we just wanted to do something about it.
The call.
So we wanted to bring that sense of peace into the community. So part of that for me is being grounded in some sort of spiritual life as well.
Nice. Bert?
Well, for me and stuff is honestly just being able to talk to Rampy and Leo and Murph and Ronnie and all that. That is my big thing, being able to talk to people who are close to me.
Yes. Your inner circle.
Yeah, my inner circle of closeness that also know me. I mean, we talk about 50 years of knowing each other. And so that's real helpful. And the new people that I've met and being able to talk to them, being real having a positive attitude, and just wanted to help people see things differently. I think that's one thing about, I didn't know I had these kind of skills. And then all of a sudden I discovered I did. And I figure, I want to leave a legacy to my daughter. Her name's Shanae, and so my daughter, just to be able to leave her something that she can say, hey, my dad did this, or he invented something.
Yes.
and just family type stuff.
Yeah.
And I like to expand my relationships with people and bring them in as family.
Yeah.
The companies we work with or something like that, I want to have a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
Where we have that, where we're gelling together and we're working we all want to go home. We all got the same goal of being able to do things good. Yeah. Most people do.
Yeah.
And we can do that and accomplish that. That makes my whole new COVID life experience better.
Yeah.
Because I can't wait to go see my boy Leo and everything, and have him talk about me and talk about Rampy, because and it's just unique and stuff. And then I've been blessed with a whole reason why I mentioned a lot of people's names, because I was blessed with these people and I got to acknowledge them. And I do this.
Yes.
I do this when I'm in my classes teaching. I let you know that we're going to focus on a whole bunch of good stuff. And we're going to make it real positive and keep it positive and keep moving. And I've been blessed with a whole bunch of positive people around me and stuff. And just like meeting you and everything, even though you just say my name like you did the first time, it kind of scared me. I was a little bit excited. She said Bertram.
I know now. I was educated.
and now she says Bert, so I'm going to come. But like I said, it's just I believe we are, as people, we need to be more humane to each other.
Absolutely.
And that's what helped me get through a lot of this.
Love. Yeah.
Like being worried about going outside and stuff like I was in 2020, and being able to now actually talk to people and feel just a little bit more comfortable, and to deal with how I'm dealing with things in pandemic, of course, going for walks, going to the gym.
Yeah.
I can't wait to, I feel better where I can do judo some more. Yeah. And I got a guy up in Avon, this guy named Paul. I want to do judo with him and stuff. And because you learn to love the sport, and it's the GentleWay. It's so much fun. And just like I said, just being around with Rampy, he's like a big brother too.
But it's about love, and I love that you said that. It's about
fear.
Your spiritual life. It's about your having a strong circle. But the one thing that I love that you guys bring is that you talk about developing confidence, taking us from a place of fear to a place of knowing and understanding, so that way when we're out here in these streets, we know how to conduct ourselves. We know how to de-escalate. We know how to self-regulate. And that's just a big portion of how we're going to be able to coexist, and how we're going to be able to develop those loving relationships that you talk about, Bert. Those are things that are important. And having that spiritual base that Rampy was talking about, these things are important. These things are going to be, foundational in helping us to be able to move, into that space of, whenever something arises, we know how to best handle it. So I thank you guys for coming and being and sharing, and for Bert having the vision that you have, and for Rampy's taking the time to say, okay, yeah, let's take this seriously, and let's move this to the next level, and bringing your knowledge, and not taking it to the grave with you, but bringing it to people who are waiting for these types of programs and waiting for this type of education to be available. So I thank you guys for that so much, and know that you are welcome to come back to talk about your new program that you're launching and talking about social styles and things of that nature. We'll definitely have you come back, because once you're a guest here, this is what's happening right now, but it's not what's happening tomorrow or an hour from now or the next day. So you always know that you are welcome to come back. So before we leave, do you guys have any last words that you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Yeah, I would just say this is a great podcast. Thank you, Kim, for inviting us on. We feel privileged that you would invite us on to just share messages, with your audience. And we just want to say, we're just here to help, and we're on a mission to keep our community safer. That's really what we're
happy
doing.
To partner with you on that. Bert?
Well, for me and stuff, I think you're just great. I watch a lot of television. I watch a lot of TV and everything. I just think you're great. And
Thank you.
You seem to understand so much. I mean, gosh, you got knowledge. Almost like we almost didn't have to talk about stuff. Really. That's how
I'm glad you did, because I didn't want it just to be a show about me. It's about you guys.
No, you didn't. You didn't talk. I mean, in our first meeting, that's what I probably meant to say.
No, I understand.
You just know how to get the information from us.
Awesome.
And everything. I never thought I had information like I had until you talking to us and stuff, and that's helpful. And what I'd like to leave with everybody else is like, let's talk more about peace and love in today's world. Because when I grew up in the 60s and 70s, we had commercials about peace. We had commercials about love. Let's buy the world a Coke.
That's right. You keep it coming.
Things like that. What the world needs now is love, sweet love.
Right.
Those kind of things we need to bring back when we're talking about peace.
That's right.
Just being at peace. That's all I would like to leave peace with everybody.
That's it. And again, like I said, thank you both for being here with me. I appreciate it. You are definitely part of the How Now family, part of my family. So I'm happy to have you. And we'll look forward to you coming back and seeing us again. And that will do it again for this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until we see you the next time, I say peace.